Ooh, what's going on, YouTube? It's Donnie B all day, holding up the D-Bad Menace. Designed by me and made by Croco Knives. This one, of course, is numbered 1 of 50. There are still some left, so if you want one, get over to Croco Knives. Look at my video on this. I just did a review. As you can see, I've been using it. I just did a review on this, and in the review is the link to this knife. I could actually add it to this video as well. So this video is going to be a little different. We're going to talk resume here. After I did this, somebody asked me, they said, well, how is it that you're like a knife designer? What makes you a knife designer? What built up the process for you to become a knife designer? And I did a video a while back, the difference between somebody who designs knives and a knife designer. And I talked about how a knife designer is methodical, measures everything out, and checks the mean. And I commented on a video from Ultimate Knife Search, awesome channel, where he had he was doing like a Work Tough Gear knife, and the designer was commenting because somebody mentioned how it looked like a certain blade, a historical blade, a famous blade, and he was like, took offense to it. Oh, I didn't steal anything. Nobody said he stole anything. It's just a classic style. So I actually showed him the knife, and then he ended up being a pretty decent guy. But I wanted to prove a little point without rubbing something in, and I said, hey man, what do you do to measure your mean? What method do you use to measure your mean? And he goes, oh, I don't do any of that. But and it just shows that there's a big difference between somebody who designs knives and a knife designer, right? It's like a lot of difference between some guy who goes out in his backyard and has a little trench in his yard and builds a wooden bridge over an architect who builds a bridge, right? There's a huge amount of difference from one to the next. And you don't just get to be one. It takes a little work, right? It takes a lot of work, as a matter of fact. So I'm going to give you a little resume, a little rundown. I'll try to stay chronological, but I don't know if I can because I didn't write any of this crap down. What makes me a knife designer to where the designs are properly designed? Oh, before I get into that, after I came up with this, somebody, actually 3 different people, and I'm so glad they commented because now I want one, were like, oh my god, this looks like the blade shape reminds me of the Benchmade 940, I think it's called. The 940. So I was like, oh, I got to check that out. So I did. And I was like, yeah, it reminds me a lot of it. So now the reason I came up with this style blade, where instead of a tanto where you'd have a straight edge and a straight, it's because, I don't know if you remember that my sharp finger, my Schrade, I was throwing it, boom, and I broke the tip. And then I just did this with the tip, so I have a belly and a tip, and I love that knife. And that one from here to here goes like this, obviously, because it's the sharp finger. So when I designed this one, I wanted it to be a bit different. And you'll see I have a 1 to 3 radius on here, which means the distance of this radius from this flat plane and the distance of this flat plane, this is 3 times this. So this is a 1-time drop to a 3-time drop, if that makes any sense. So I have a double radius, but I wanted this radius to look almost like a flat line. And you'd have to really look at it to see that it's a radius. So this curve right here is actually a ×3 over this one. This is barely curved. This one has a nice curve. What that does is give you a good function right here. And right here, it's just for weight balance in the mean. Really cool. But I was looking at that Benchmade and I decided to pull it up real close and give it a really nice look. And I noticed what they did is from here was a straight line, and then they have this drop. It's like a nice swoop. It's really nice of swedged area, but the swedge comes all the way to the tip right here. So there's none of this. It goes like that, right? Except curved, and then this is flat. It's not sharpened. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, that would make a great companion knife to this. So if anyone has one that you're looking to sell or whatever, let me know. But this guy right here, awesome. So let's get into a little bit of how D-Bad became D-Bad, not the name. We already know that story. So I've been in martial arts all my life. All my life I've been in the arts. I started out as a kid boxing under Coach Finn, under Pat, and it was like secondary. My brother was a boxer, and I was too young to get started. My brother was learning under his father, so Finn Jr. is the one who actually taught me. So I got to box under Pat Finn Jr. So after that, I trained with the American Taekwondo, or trained for the American Taekwondo fighting team. Black belt Budo Kempo officer. I was in just about everything. I did karate with Molina and Master Griffin. Did a little Iron Dragon. Ernie Rise in New York. I got to go do some Black Dragon there. I kickboxed under Andy Long, ISK, PK world champion guy. Was awesome. Hit like a freaking mule. But I got around, man. I was just always wanting to learn the next thing, and it was really good for me. It was really, really good for me, as a matter of fact. And then I did, obviously, American combat training with the Army. But the Army didn't really teach me anything new. As a matter of fact, and this is a true story. True story. I was in basic training, and they were teaching how to put an arm bar on somebody. And it was this big mess of a move, and it was like a jiu-jitsu type deal. And so I looked at my drill sergeant Sales. Really cool dude, man. Drill Sergeant Sales. He's oh, Drill Sergeant Sales. So I said, hey, Drill Sergeant. I said, if I can do this move in less moves and have it more effective, can I do it my way? And he said, show me what you mean, Private. Show me what you mean. So I was like, all right. So I said, I can't really just explain it. I have to show you. So I'd have to actually show you. So he used himself as a volunteer and put him in this armbar real quick, real fast, dropped him to the ground, had his face in the ground. He was looking at it. This is a drill sergeant. I'm just some freaking E3 private, right? Private first class. And so Sales like, ooh, I like it. He goes, let me go. But I like it. I let him go real fast. But it just, the American combat I learned was, like, they'll even teach you in basic training, you're going to learn just enough to get your ass kicked in a fight. That's exactly what you're learning. But it's just extra stuff, right? So I had fight training all my life. I was a Boy Scout. I know I was a Boy Scout. So I got to do a lot of my a lot of the stuff that I learned, like outdoor stuff, was with the Scouts at an early age. I spent my life in the woods. My life was in the woods. Any chance I got to be in the woods, I was in the woods. And I freaking loved it. My father worked a lot, but when he didn't work, we were out doing river walks, and he taught us how to build sloughs and just all kinds of stuff. My first buck knife was his old 119. I wish I still had it. But it's just like, he knew the woods. He knew the outdoors. He was a Navy guy. I'm an Army guy. But so my childhood was spent literally, instead of regular vacations, what we would do is we would take days out and go to different rivers and walk rivers and go to points far out into the woods through the river. And there we'd start building sloughs and dams and on all kinds of different things. And that was my childhood, man. That was crazy fun. So after that, I did some drafting classes, and that's where I learned how to do things like measuring means, which is incredibly important when you're talking about this. So I did 3 different drafting classes. After that, I was in a National Arts Honor Society for 4 years. Boop, that many. So I did a lot of art. Art was just my thing back then, between art and writing, poetry, stuff like that. Insane amount of time doing that stuff. But, and that's why my flow is poetic. So yeah, doing all that, then I ended up, let's see, I did, National Arts Honor Society, and then I got into law enforcement after that, but first starting with like securities and doing a bunch of that, and then it came to doing armed guard work, and I I opened up a business called the Special Enforcement Office of America, where I did high-end bodyguard work and a lot of armed work and things like that. And then I was a ranger. I was like a parks ranger out there in the woods and in my cruiser and doing the things that all a ranger does. And one of the main things I had on me was a baton, and I had a knife. I always had to have a knife, because when you're a woodslands ranger and you're out there in the forest, then you always need a knife, just always. So I did that for a while, and I loved it. I was an animal control officer. But then I spent 12 years, I was a constable, I was a sergeant. Same in the Army. I was a sergeant. I made same ranks. But I was a constable, and I did a lot of stuff there. And it's just another thing where law enforcement, you need a good knife. You need to know knives. You need to know how to handle a knife, how not to handle a knife, when to and when not to pull a knife, things like that. And then, of course, there's the Army, right? Did 9 years in the Army, tours Afghanistan. I am a two-time decorated American hero, decorated, pinned, and given things. And I've just been doing it all my freaking life. All my life. I was a camp counselor. So I would teach kids how to be outdoors and teach kids how to use knives. And then on top of all that, I made my own. So I started learning how to forge and learning what to look for when I draw something on paper, how it's going to relate to the hand. And all of that meshing, all of that is what, like, a lot of people say, oh yeah, you know, I can design a knife because I went to the Army. Did you ever tour? No. Did you ever see combat? Well, no. But because I was in the military, I was a Marine, I know something about knives. What do you know? Nothing. People use, oh yeah, I know, I blah 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 blah, and that's why I'm so blah 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 blah. You got to have a resume. My resume, my entire life has been around a knife. It's been around a knife. Everything I've done. Fight training, we did weapons training. I did Joe work, I did knife work, and things like that. But I've always been into blades and blade training. I learned young because my father, bringing me into the woods, wanted me to know how to use a knife without tearing myself up. Good job, Dad. So it's literally from learning as a child in the woods and starting fight training and then going right to the Boy Scouts and then taking all that knowledge that I learned as a kid and having zero knowledge, like adult style knowledge, and going to drafting classes and saying, ooh, wait, okay, so I'm doing all this mechanical drafting, and I'm like, all right, now I know how to measure things, and then going from there, continuing my fight stuff, continuing my outdoorsman life, going into being a camp counselor, and going into law enforcement, and then going into military. I know what I needed as a law enforcement knife. I know what I needed as a scout knife. I know what I needed as a combat knife. Every single pretty much kind of knife that you need or that you see designed is something I've had to use at some point in my life. Like, I've used fighting knives for training, right? They were doled out, but we did fighting knife training in the martial arts. Did a whole bunch of that. Fighting knife, not so much training in real life. There's been a couple stories where I had to tell about that. And then combat training, combat experience, not just training, combat experience, law enforcement experience, not just training there. And drawing, just art. So being an artist really helped push me over that edge. So to the one person, whole video for one question, the one person wanted to know, like, why I am a knife designer where other people design knives. That's pretty much it, man. It comes down to how you do it, right? Just drawing something on a piece of paper that you think looks cool, that's not designing a knife, that's drawing a knife. It's drawing a knife design. It's not designing anything, right? But really getting into it and mechanically drawing something and mechanically making it so you know when it goes into the hand, this thing is amazing in the hand. Talk to Colleen McCrory. She got number 2 of 50. She ordered hers right away. And we actually got them in the same day, so she pre-ordered. I got mine the same day she got hers, and she freaking loves it. And this is a woman who I brought you one custom blade, and then she sent me this one, and we actually traded, so I get to keep it. She knows quality knives. She knows really good quality knives. And so when she put this in her hand, she said, "This is my new favorite knife." She's got some great freaking knives. This is her favorite. That says a little something about the blade. Again, I'll put the link down there so you can go ahead and go to the website and look at one of these. The price, ooh, this is under 80 bucks before shipping. I know, it's crazy. It's crazy, man. It's D2 steel. It's wonderful. So, and you get that. So that's it, man. I hope that this helped you out. For the rest of you who don't care, I'm sorry, I'll do a better video next time. But what is my resume on what makes me a knife designer? That's pretty much it. I have a lifetime of resume going into this, and not just I had knives all my life. That's not a resume. Having knives doesn't make you squat. Using knives doesn't make you squat. You have to learn. You have to learn. You have to be a learned knife person. And I'll tell you what, I am a learned knife person. If you want to battle resumes, please bring it on. But I'll tell you one thing. Actions speak louder than words. My knife designs work. They work. They all feel good in the hand. Every single one of them. Every single one of them feels good, or they're just weighted right. Every single one of them, it's gonna have something. Oh wait, me and Scab did a collaboration on a big blade that's coming in. That should be here any day now. And when I talk about balance and all that, this one's not gonna have any of that crap. This is just a beast. Scab said, "Let's do a collab." I said, "What do you want?" He said, "Big." I drew something up on a piece of paper. I said, "What about this?" I showed him. He went, "Yup." And then we just went over all the fine details together. And when you see the awesome finish, black finish, when you see the style of scale, what scale we used and what color, and you say, "Holy crap, that's perfect for that knife," blame Scab. That was his choice. But holy crap. He just said, "I want something big." He goes, "I want something that can hit." That's what he said. I said, "I want something that can hit, just a hitter." So I literally, as soon as he said that, I went into the room, and I have the drawing. I'll show you guys. I went real quick, drew this up, and showed him, and he goes, "Yep." Because I showed him to him saying, "Okay, what do you want to do to it to make it different?" He's like, "It's just right." So I said, "Well then, color, grip choice, all that stuff is on you." So we got to do a nice collab. That is coming in soon. Cannot freaking wait. I don't even have a name for it. I know Megatron had picked out a name. I have to figure out what that is because I totally forgot. But yeah. Oh man. I was almost, when I drew it up, I was thinking polished look to it, and Scab said black, and I was like, right on. It's totally gonna work. So that's it for this one. I still have to right here do a test video on this guy that I built up using spare parts and a little D-Bat ingenuity. Whoa, gotta take this out and use it. I might actually get out there today, but I have a ghost hunt tonight and going to see that movie Megan. I'm excited about that. So so I got a full day. But I got to bang this around. I might just go out there right now and do it. So if you see me dressed like this in this knife review, you'll know why. All right, so that's it for this one. Hi, I'm Donnie B All Day. This is the Croco Menace, designed by, well, Donnie B All Day. Until next knife.